My husband sat me down, smiled, and said, "I love you, but I've been seeing someone else." I took a deep breath and simply replied, "I know." His face dropped as a knock echoed through the house. The divorce papers had just arrived. I never thought I'd be sharing this, but here goes. I'm a 38-year-old woman from Chicago, and I've been married to my husband, Mark, for 15 years. We have 2 kids, Emily and Jake, and we've built a life together in our suburban home. But recently, everything changed. It was a cold evening in late November. The wind was howling outside, and I was in the kitchen making dinner. Mark came in and asked if we could talk. We sat down at the dining table, and he took my hands in his. "Sarah," he said, "I love you, but I've been seeing someone else." I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. My heart was racing, and I couldn't breathe. But somehow I managed to stay calm. "I know," I replied. He looked shocked. Before he could say anything else, there was a knock at the door. I got up to answer it, and a man in a suit handed me an envelope. "Mrs. Thompson?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "These are for you," he said, giving me the envelope. I closed the door and looked down at the envelope. It said divorce papers on the front. My hands were shaking, and I felt like I was going to collapse. I leaned against the door for support. Mark came over to me. "Sarah, I didn't mean for it to come to this," he said. I looked at him, feeling angry and betrayed. "You didn't mean for it to come to this?" I said. "You chose to betray our family." He sighed. "I never wanted to hurt you. But I've felt lost, disconnected. And then I met her." "Her?" I interrupted. "Who is she?" "Her name is Lisa," he said, avoiding my eyes. "We met at work. It started as friendship, but it grew into something more." I clenched my fists, trying to control my emotions. "And you thought the solution was to cheat?" "To throw away everything we've built." I was confused, he said. I didn't know how to handle it. I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. "You should have talked to me, Mark. We could have worked through it together." He reached out, but I stepped back. "Sarah, please. I want to make this right." I looked down at the divorce papers in my hand, then back at him. "It's too late for that," I whispered. The days that followed were a blur. I moved into the guest room, unable to share the same space with him. Emily and Jake sensed the tension, but didn't fully understand what was happening. I tried to keep things normal for them, but inside, I was falling apart. One evening, as I was tucking Emily into bed, she looked up at me with her big, innocent eyes. "Mommy, why are you and Daddy sad?" My heart ached. How do you explain to a 10-year-old that her father has betrayed their family? I forced a smile and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Sometimes grown-ups have problems, sweetie. But we both love you and Jake very much." She nodded, seeming to accept the answer, but I could see the worry in her eyes. I kissed her forehead and turned off the light, closing the door softly behind me. As I walked down the hallway, I heard muffled voices coming from the living room. Curiosity got the better of me, and I quietly approached. Mark was on the phone. "I know, Lisa," he said, his voice strained. I told her. It didn't go well. I felt a surge of anger. He was still in contact with her, even after everything. I stepped into the room, making my presence known. He looked up, guilt flashing across his face. "I have to go," he said into the phone before hanging up. "Still talking to her?" I asked, crossing my arms over my chest. He sighed. "Sarah, it's complicated." "Complicated?" I scoffed. "You made it complicated." He stood up, approaching me cautiously. "I ended things with her, but she keeps reaching out." I searched his eyes for the truth. "Do you still love her?" He hesitated, and that pause spoke volumes. I felt my heart shatter all over again. "I don't know," he admitted. I turned away, unable to look at him. "I can't do this, Mark. I deserve better." He reached out, placing a hand on my shoulder. "I want to fix this." I shrugged off his touch. Some things can't be fixed. The following weeks were filled with legal proceedings and painful conversations. We decided to sell the house, splitting the proceeds. I found a small apartment nearby, wanting to keep the kids in the same school district. Mark moved into a condo downtown. Co-parenting was challenging. Every interaction with Mark was a reminder of his betrayal. But for the sake of our children, I tried to remain civil. One evening, after dropping the kids off at Mark's place, I decided to take a walk along Lake Michigan. The cold wind bit at my cheeks, but I welcomed the numbness. As I gazed out at the vast expanse of water, I realized that, despite the pain, I had a chance to start anew. I enrolled in a local community college, pursuing a degree in counseling. I wanted to help others navigate the treacherous waters of relationships and betrayal. It was therapeutic, turning my pain into purpose. Years passed. The wounds healed, leaving behind scars that told a story of resilience. Mark and I found a rhythm in our co-parenting, and while our relationship would never be the same, we managed to be amicable for our children's sake. One afternoon, as I was organizing some old boxes, I came across our wedding album. I flipped through the pages, memories flooding back. The smiles, the promises, the love. Tears welled up, but this time, they weren't solely of sadness. They were of acceptance. Life doesn't always go as planned. People change, circumstances shift, and hearts break. But through it all, I learned that I am stronger than I ever believed. And while the journey was painful, it led me to a place of understanding and growth. A few months after moving into the apartment, I started to feel like I could breathe again. It wasn't easy, but at least there was no more walking on eggshells. No more guessing. No more lies. But peace doesn't last forever. One evening, I was folding laundry and watching the news when my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "You don't know me, but I thought you should know Mark hasn't been honest with you. There's more. Meet me at the Starbucks on 95th tomorrow at 6 p.m. if you want the truth." My stomach dropped. I read the message over and over. My first thought was that it was Lisa playing games. Or maybe some scam. But something in me said I should go. I didn't tell Mark. I didn't tell anyone. The next evening, I got to the Starbucks early. I picked a seat near the back and waited. At exactly 6:01, a woman walked in. Mid-30s, dark red hair, very sharp features. She looked around, saw me, and came straight over. "Sarah?" she asked. Her voice was low but direct. "Yeah." She sat down, her hands clasped tightly together. "My name is Denise. I used to work with Mark. We were close. Not like that. But I knew Lisa too." I didn't say anything. I just stared. She leaned in. Lisa wasn't the only one. I felt something inside me snap. "What do you mean?" There were at least two others. One before Lisa. One during. Maybe more. He's been doing this for years. He just got sloppy with Lisa. I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. "Why are you telling me this now?" I finally asked. "Because I saw what it did to you. To your family. And because he hurt me too. Not romantically, but professionally. He cost me my job. And I think he's going to hurt someone else if no one says anything." I didn't know what to believe. Part of me wanted to scream at her. The other part wanted to run. I asked her for proof. She pulled out her phone and showed me texts. Screenshots. Even photos of Mark out at bars with women who definitely weren't me or Lisa. I left that Starbucks with a hollow feeling in my chest. The truth had layers, and I'd only peeled back the first one. The next day, I confronted Mark. I called him and told him to come over. When he showed up, I didn't say a word at first. Just handed him the photos Denise had sent me. His face went pale. "You're really going to dig all this up again," he said, his voice cold. "You lied." "Even more than I thought," I replied. He sat down. "It's over now." "Why does it matter?" "It matters because you destroyed our family. And I didn't even know the half of it." We argued for hours. He tried denying some things. Tried spinning others. At one point he said, "Well, if I was that bad, why didn't you leave sooner?" That line broke me. I screamed. I threw the photos across the room. And I told him to leave. Not just my apartment, but my life. And then something else happened. A few days later, I started getting strange phone calls. Hang-ups. Sometimes just breathing on the other end. Then a note slipped under my door one night. No name. Just, "Stop digging or you'll regret it." I reported it to the police. They said they couldn't do much unless something happened. They told me to keep a record, be careful, maybe get cameras. I did all of that. And then it got worse. I was walking out of my building to head to class one morning and noticed my tires had been slashed. All four. The cameras caught nothing. Whoever did it knew exactly where the blind spots were. I started to wonder if Mark knew what was going on, if he was behind it, or if someone else was protecting him. Lisa? One of the other women? Denise? I called Denise, but her number was disconnected. I haven't seen or heard from her since. The fear crept in slowly. I started looking over my shoulder, double-checking locks, sleeping with a bat next to my bed. But I also started gathering every bit of evidence I could. Emails, text messages, anything that tied Mark to these women. Anything that could explain why someone wanted to scare me into silence. Because someone does. And I'm going to find out who. But I have no idea what it will cost me. A week after the tire slashing, I was still shaken, but determined not to be intimidated. I installed a second camera system on my apartment, one hidden. I changed my routine a bit, varied the times I left the house. I stopped answering blocked numbers. Whatever game someone was playing, I wasn't about to sit back and wait. Then, another twist hit me out of nowhere. I was dropping the kids off at Mark's one Friday evening. He met us outside, smiling like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't lied, cheated, and potentially scared the hell out of me for weeks. But then Jake, our 8-year-old, said something as he got out of the car. "Daddy says we might move to Seattle soon. He said we'd like it there better." I froze. "What?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Jake shrugged. He said not to tell you yet. It's a surprise. Mark's smile dropped when he realized Jake spilled the beans. He came over, pulling me aside. "Don't overreact," he started. "Overreact? You're talking about moving across the country with my kids without telling me." I whispered sharply. "I'm just exploring opportunities. It's not set." "Don't make this a big deal," he said. "Mark, if you try to take them out of state without my consent, I swear, it's not like that," he interrupted, holding up his hands. "I haven't filed anything." I didn't believe him. That night, I called my lawyer. She confirmed he hadn't filed for custody modification, but we updated my paperwork and filed an emergency clause blocking out-of-state relocation. Things were spiraling. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name typed on the front. Inside was a printed email chain between Mark and someone named Raymond. It was dated months before our separation. They were discussing selling a piece of property. Not our house, some apartment in Evanston I'd never heard of. Mark had bought a small rental unit using our joint money, without telling me. The email also mentioned keeping Sarah in the dark until the paperwork was solid. My name, right there. I took it straight to my lawyer. She confirmed that during our marriage, any major financial decisions had to be disclosed. If proven, it could change the financial terms of the divorce. I confronted Mark again. This time I recorded it. He didn't even try to deny it. "I didn't think you'd care about some crummy rental. You were never into the money stuff," he said. "I care that you lied." Again. "It's done now." But it wasn't. It was just beginning. 2 days after that confrontation, I came home to find my front door wide open. Nothing stolen. Nothing broken. Just open. The police came. They checked everything. There were no signs of forced entry. No prints. Nothing on the cameras. But someone had been inside. My desk drawers were slightly ajar. My files moved. They didn't take anything. They looked for something. I knew it had to do with the documents. Maybe the email chain. Maybe more. And then something clicked. Raymond. I remembered seeing that name in a folder of Mark's from years ago, some friend from a side business. I dug through my old photos, emails. Found one group photo at a Cubs game. Mark. Two coworkers. One man standing at the edge. That had to be Raymond. I ran a search. Turns out, Raymond got arrested back in 2020 for real estate fraud. Nothing massive, but enough to make the news. Mark had testified in the case as a consultant, which meant Mark was involved, or at least close enough to know the details. I sent this to my lawyer. She told me to be careful. If there's fraud, if you're in danger, we can petition the court to suspend visitation until it's resolved, she said. And that's when I got the next message. Another unknown number. This time, it wasn't a threat. It was a warning. You think you know everything, but Mark's in deeper than you think. Don't let the kids near him. Don't trust him. He's playing you. It came with a photo attachment. Mark standing in a parking garage at night, talking to a man in a hoodie. The timestamp? 2 days after the break-in. Location? Near my building. Was he behind it? Why? What was he trying to find? Why was someone helping me? Who was watching him and me? None of it made sense yet. But something big was happening under the surface. Something I hadn't seen coming. The message with the photo stayed open on my phone all night. I stared at it until my eyes burned. That timestamp, the shadowy figures, the garage barely a block from my building, it screamed of setup, of danger, of secrets I still didn't fully understand. And the worst part? My kids were still visiting Mark every other weekend. I didn't sleep. By morning, I had made up my mind. I was going to confront him, not with rage this time, but with everything. With truth. With the evidence. With the fear I'd been carrying for weeks. I waited until Sunday. Jake and Emily were scheduled to come home at noon. I showed up early. He looked surprised when he opened the door. "Sarah? Everything okay?" he asked, standing in the doorway like a perfectly normal dad. I pushed past him into the apartment. "No. We need to talk. Now." The kids were in the living room. I gave them a quick smile. "Why don't you two pack up? I'll take you out for lunch." Jake nodded, already grabbing his bag. Emily lingered, sensing the tension. "Go on, Em," I said gently. Once they were in the back, I turned to Mark and pulled out my phone. I showed him the text. The photo. He didn't flinch. "You're being dramatic," he said coolly. Don't do that. You've been hiding things since before the divorce. The property. The fraud. Lisa wasn't the only one, was she? None of that matters now. It matters when someone breaks into my home, I snapped. I didn't do that. But you know who did, I said, quieter now. He looked at me for a long time. And then something shifted in his expression. The lies peeled back. I was trying to get the emails, he admitted. The ones from Raymond. I knew you'd go looking once you got the divorce papers. I panicked. I didn't want it to affect custody. He was calm, like it was normal to break into someone's apartment. You had someone scare me. You had someone threaten me. While you were telling our kids you might take them to Seattle. He finally raised his voice. I wasn't going to. I just needed leverage. The court listens more when the dad has something to offer. Leverage. He said it so easily. I was shaking. You don't get to use our kids to clean up your mess. You think you're the only one scared, he yelled. Everything's falling apart. The business, the money. Raymond's been calling me too. He says he'll talk to the cops unless I shut you up. So yeah, I had someone go to your place. Just to find the papers, not to hurt you. I was stunned. Disgusted. From behind us, a soft gasp. We turned. Emily. Standing in the hallway. She'd heard everything. Her face was pale. Dad, she said, voice trembling. Mark took a step forward. Sweetie, it's not what you think. She ran out the door. I followed, leaving him standing there, frozen. The car ride was silent. Jake didn't say a word. Emily stared out the window, her jaw tight, tears slipping quietly down her cheek. At home, she locked herself in her room. I got a lawyer's emergency injunction the next day, temporary suspension of unsupervised visitation. Mark fought it, but he didn't stand a chance. During the court hearing, his emails with Raymond came up. So did the financial misconduct, the threats, the break-in. His face was blank throughout most of it, until Emily took the stand. She was scared. But she spoke. "He scared my mom," she said. "And he scared me too." That broke him. For the first time in months, I saw it, real emotion on his face. His eyes watered. He couldn't look at her. After the ruling, he tried to talk to me outside the courthouse. "I never meant for it to go this far," he said, his voice shaking. "I was drowning. So you dragged the rest of us down too." "I'm sorry, Sarah. Really. I was selfish. And weak." There was nothing left to say. Not really. The aftermath was quieter than I expected. No more messages. No more threats. Raymond was arrested again a month later. Bank fraud this time. And with him went most of the pressure on Mark. But the damage was done. I watched my kids go through stages: confusion, hurt, anger. Therapy helped. Time helped. But trust doesn't come back easy. Mark sees them now, supervised, short visits. He tries hard. But they're cautious. Especially Emily. That girl saw something that changed her. As for me, I kept going. I finished my degree. I found part-time work at a local clinic, talking to women who've lived through betrayal and fear. Sometimes they ask me if I still talk to my ex. Sometimes they ask if I still love him. The truth? I don't know. Maybe I loved who he was. Or who I thought he was. But not who he became. Not the man who chose lies over love. And maybe I'm not fully healed. Maybe I'm still rebuilding. But I know this much. I didn't let him break me. I didn't let him silence me. And I never will.